Today is November 17th, and we're doing robot and nonsense stories to end your week. And we're starting with stories about Samsung.
AI.
Whatever.
New AIs, and it seems like every week we must get new AIs. This week is no exception. So many new ones.
Samsung has launched a generative AI model made for its devices, beating Apple to the punch. So you'll be able to run this on crappy Samsung devices. And good ones, too.
Yay, another model. But don't feel left out if you don't have a Samsung device, because there's so many more you can choose from.
Amazon dedicates a team to train an ambitious AI model codenamed Olympus, according to sources. This model would, it's like, hey, this is a product that'll solve your problem on Amazon.com. It's only $9.99. You want to order it? Yes. I've ordered it. It's on its way.
Amazon has neither confirmed nor denied that they're working on that, but I believe that that name leaked.
As a Prime member, I am giving you extra CPU cycles, just so you know.
Olympus, I want to cut the number of calories I'm taking. I need to lose some weight. Well, Happy Belly is mostly sawdust. It'll cut your calories. And probably the most entertaining new AI. I am looking forward to trying this one out because of the gimmicks that are promised with it.
Elon Musk debuts Grok, an AI bot to rival ChatGPT and others. That so far, it's not downloading LLMs you can just download yourself like a wizard.
Grok, what makes it special? Well, obviously the lack of censorship that Musk is famous for, unless it is stuff about him and his family, I'm sure. And also, it's not going to be overly saccharine and nice like ChatGPT is. It's actually going to play back with you if you get insulting.
What if we trained it terribly? Like everyone just pretended to be Musk, and then it started developing a series of specific insults if it thinks you're Musk.
But if it's trained on Twitter data, then it's going to be awful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have the clean version of the large language model for running on the AI computer.
It also, I think you can get it if you're one of the Twitter paying people.
Yeah.
Not right now, but whenever it's released, which is probably by the time you watch this.
Or you can just run your own.
And OpenAI, not to be left out, has an iterative release, but a new release.
OpenAI debuts GPT-4 Turbo and a fine-tuning program for GPT-4. The fine-tuning program is you can launch your own chatbot, so you can give the chatbot a large prompt document where you write what persona it is, and they let you sort of set the rules for the chatbot. It's still ChatGPT-4 underneath the hood, but you can give it some initial training data or tokens or whatever. Yeah. OpenAI is letting anyone create their own version of ChatGPT. So this is more information about what was just highlighted in the other article.
They got to capture that market.
Now, you can also let other people use your version of ChatGPT. So you can set some rules for it, put it out there on their new store that they're putting out, and somebody can come by and be like, oh, yeah, I do want your special version of GPT. But they won't let you see what people are running through it. There might be revenue sharing eventually. We're not sure. Branded. It's like the celebrity McDonald's meals. I want Beyonce's ChatGPT.
Every thought in your head is done.
And OpenAI is making a promise that a lot of other AIs have already made.
OpenAI offers to pay for ChatGPT customers' copyright lawsuits. It's interesting. IBM was the first, and OpenAI said, oh, crap, we're going to have to do that too. So they are.
There was one more, right?
Yep.
Can't remember which one it was. And apparently they are doing something right. I have to admit, I use it almost daily at this point.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that we've gotten to this place, because when we first looked at it, I was like, well, that's cool, but I don't know how I'd use it. And now it's like, wow, the frog is boiling.
ChatGPT continues to be one of the fastest growing services ever. It turns out that large language models, when it's like, oh, I don't remember exactly precisely the syntax. Here's what I remember, and here's what I'm trying to do. And it's like, oh, yeah, I got you, fam. Here you go. And it's close to right.
But it's so scary. It's so scary because you're like, well, I'm not developing any memory for anything.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that since the advent of the internet, none of us have been developing good memories for information, but this just takes it to a new level.
It's also true that back in those days, you might realistically learn a programming language to the point that you didn't have to constantly reference things.
Right.
Those days are never coming back. At this point, I don't even know what's in the supply chain for what I'm programming.
The for class, I pulled the last 50 commits to Drupal from Drupal.org, and I sent it through an LLM, and I was like, which of these last 50 commits to Drupal were the most important? And the model sat there for a minute or two and was like, this one. And the students were just like, oh my God, we're not going to have jobs. And I was like, no, you're just going to work differently. You're just going to work differently.
But no, by the time they graduate, they probably just won't have jobs.
Eventually, you will be assisting the AI when it has problems rather than the other way.
When there's downtime.
Hey, meatbag, I've got a dead ram stick. Go replace it. Okay, sir.
There's an image here that I can't quite make out. Interpret it. And we are getting into a world where we need to try and differentiate, right? What's real and what's been created by the AIs.
ChatGPT detector catches AI-generated papers with unprecedented accuracy.
What's the secret? Well, it's actually not really a secret. It's a catch. You have to drill down and train it on one specific thing. In this case, I think it was chemistry papers. So like 100% accuracy on all the chemistry papers they tested it. But if you gave it a literature paper, it wouldn't.
Lost, yeah.
It wouldn't be able to do anything. Which is not terrible, right? Because, I mean, you know what you're measuring. And the big companies, I think they kind of see what you're talking about in terms of doing it yourself, because the language models are nerfed and it's annoying, and they're, blind spots when you ask them about certain things. Like I was enjoying some conspiracy content, as I usually do. And this particular one named like actual bills. And I went to talk to ChatGPT about it. And I was like, hey, what about this? Did it grant the president these powers? And it's like, I don't know anything about that. Then I pasted the name of the actual bill, and it was like, well, yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah. But
In that tone of voice.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping that's what the Twitter one will be. But Meta trying to get ahead of that.
Meta taps Hugging Face for startup accelerator to spur adoption of open source AI models. IBM at their AI event, it was AI. It was what companies are going from their thing plus AI to now AI plus their thing. And that was like one of the slides.
And they also have this incubator office, which is in Paris.
Station F. That doesn't sound, what's the word that we always use? Dystopian? That doesn't sound dystopian at all.
It reminds me of another joke from 30 Rock where they talk about the F train. It's like,
Isn't that just a subway train? And
well, yeah, but in the show, it's like a euphemism for.
that's right. And Microsoft is also doing that same kind of thing. They're taking a slightly different approach. They're doing the first high is free approach to the AI language model.
Microsoft partners with venture capitalists to give startups free AI chip access. Listen, if you get addicted to Azure, we're all going to be just minting money.
See, I think that's what all these companies are trying to do. Is they're trying to come out with the best language model.
Yeah.
And then, isolate everybody so everyone's using their thing and then start charging for it.
We are going to have a future where your choice in language model, it's kind of like your phone, right?
Yeah.
Is going to dictate what news you see and how the world is interpreted to you.
Except eventually it's going to happen much like it has now, where there's only going to be 2 or 3 options.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's the illusion of choice.
I don't understand what the moat is, though, because for any of these companies, like for Google, it was MapReduce. And it's like, we're going to come up with the MapReduce algorithm, and we're going to publish the paper, and we're going to own this for 20 years. And that's going to let us build Google. That's going to prevent, Bing or Yahoo or somebody from implementing their own MapReduce for at least 20 years or whatever. Or maybe not. I don't know. And now with the large language models, it's like, oh, OpenAI is out in front, but the open source models are surprisingly good. So there's not anything to trap you inside of OpenAI. There's not anything to trap you inside of these AI startups. And with copyright law the way that it is, there's nothing to trap you there yet.
There is. It's the ease of use.
Mm.
As we can see, people who are willing to just take Netflix constantly going into their
Spitting in
pocket
their face, yeah.
month after month, deleting their shows, stealing their stuff, and they're like, okay, I'll do more. Oh, you want to show me ads? Okay. So that will definitely work. Now, I am hyped about this because, we play Baldur's Gate. I can interact with everybody, almost everybody. You know what's garbage is I invested in Speak with the Dead, but the dead won't speak to me.
Well, sometimes if we were the people who killed them, they won't speak to their killers. So there's that. But also,
Rude.
I will say though, it drives me crazy that you can use that spell on characters who won't talk. Like they shouldn't just let you target them.
But I'm looking forward to a day. I mean, we can bang the characters, right? All of them. We should be able to have more intense relationships with them on a mental level as well.
Microsoft is bringing AI characters to Xbox.
The Hatsune Miku experience.
I talked to the company at Intel Innovation. I got to talk to the company that did the Skyrim AI characters, and that was shockingly good in Skyrim. Like, shockingly good.
Well, Microsoft wants to get you in on the Copilot as well. They've added it to Windows 11, but Microsoft knows about the statistics. They know about Windows 11, and they've given up.
Microsoft plans to bring its AI Copilot to 1 billion Windows 10 users.
We gotta pump these numbers up, and it looks bad.
Because nobody's willing to use that trash Windows 11 when they have a choice.
So this is like Bing in Windows 11, right? It's like, oh, no one's using Bing. Okay, every time you open the start menu, make it Bing for whatever you're doing. Oh, then now the Bing numbers are looking pretty good because that line go up in Bing every time somebody clicks start. Yes, excellent.
Yeah. When I try to run Notepad, it's going to run Copilot instead to talk to me about Notepad.
Half the time when I type something into search, it's like, you want to search the web? And it's like,
No.
no, dingus.
I'd go on the web if I wanted to search the web.
Can we disable that? No.
I'm going to cut this one because we got so many. We've already talked about that. It's about poisoning the AI models. We talked about
Which
that
I
last
kind of
year.
love.
Yeah, we talked about that last year.
Yeah, I'm all about it, but we did talk about it. Did you say last year?
Last week. Maybe last year. I don't know.
Soon it will be last year.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That old joke. And this, I don't know. You think they just spent a lot of money here because this was everywhere?
I watched this ad, yeah, and I really want to do a parody of this ad in like the post-apocalyptic basement. Like I want to set up the LED lights behind us and then just come out as monotone as possible and be like, this is the brain spoon. The brain spoon is...
Well, whatever. I think they just paid for it, but everybody covered this and everybody didn't really sort of crap on it the way you might expect them to.
All the details about Humane's AI pen, which costs $700 and has OpenAI integration.
$700 plus $25 a month.
Yeah. It's on T-Mobile.
It didn't look that exciting. I did think the Palm phone thing was interesting, but I was like, I don't think I would use this.
You know what's better though than projecting things onto my palm? An OLED screen.
Yeah.
Where I can get, full fidelity and see the image the way it was meant to be and not on my hand.
I can pinch and drag and long
Oh, you can
press
pinch
and-
with this. That was like half the demo. So it's like...
But they also, the other problem here is you're wearing a camera.
But they have, what do they call it? Trust mode, where the light's
Trust
on.
light. Sure that they'll always respect that.
Oh, absolutely.
We learned that Cruise has been banned from San Francisco last week, and that was the straw that broke that poor camel's back. They're just starting over.
Cruise recalls all of its self-driving cars to fix their programming. Because they might not have planned on pedestrians just wandering in front of them.
Well, I think the pedestrian had wandered in front of another car, and then they were in the street. The article used some pretty graphic language about how they were dragged.
The AI
Painted a
must have
picture.
identified them as a box. Foreshadowing.
Oh, yeah, also terrible.
And after that happened, and now that there's probably going to be a lawsuit right there, right, for the woman that got run over, they're revealing some very embarrassing things about the autonomous cars.
Cruise confirms robotaxis rely on human assistance every 4 to 5 miles. I thought that there was another report that said that each vehicle required like 1.7 human operators. And it's like, well, wait, if it was just a taxi, it would only require 1.0 operators. So why is it?
Well, that article said 20 to 1. So they were managing up to 20 at a time, I think.
Maybe that was a different autonomous car.
They also, it's not what you expect where they've just got a Logitech wheel and they're driving. They claim they don't have any sort of interaction with the controls of the car, but instead they're like directing it on screen, like telling it, no, go here instead, or stop, or whatever.
It's point and click.
You should stop. The police are pulling you over. Okay.
What a hectic job. Can you imagine you switch back to one screen and there's just blood?
Oh no!
I'm responsible for
And then
this.
you just quietly wipe that one. Oh well.
But that probably is a job that isn't going to exist forever because eventually they'll get it right, and eventually the robots will control the world.
China wants to build an advanced humanoid robot by 2025. Not
So-
just one, but like mass assembly.
When I read this section of the news, I read this one after another story about how robots may have killed someone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
It's also extra dystopian. That's like the little girl in the princess dress.
holding the hand of the robot. Yeah.
The robot's the only one that has time to care for the little girl because everybody has to work 80 hours a week.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
that's it. This is the one I read first. And then it was like, let's make more.
Well, I sorted this toward the end because it is very sad.
Industrial robot crushes man to death in South Korean distribution center. But the reason he was crushed to death is because the optics on it that were for
Does he look like a box?
were for identifying boxes. He was there to work on it because the optics had been malfunctioning. The optics identified him as a box
A
and
box of fruit
put him on the conveyor belt.
and smashed him. Unfortunate. You got to wonder.
That's
I mean,
a box.
those arms, they don't move super fast for safety reasons. So he had probably had like 7-8 seconds
Ugh.
where he was being placed on the belt. And he was like, wait a minute. And Starlink is one of those businesses that for a long time just burned money because Elon Musk. But finally,
Elon Musk says SpaceX Starlink business has achieved break-even cash flow. So you mean to tell me that this is a company that has gone cash flow positive in less than 2 years of operation after launching things into space?
there might be some waste at NASA. And one of the reasons that he is making that money back is because of recycling, and it's getting to a ridiculous degree.
A historic Falcon 9 made a little more history Friday night. It didn't stop at 10 or 15 flights per booster. It's past 20.
No, it's at 18.
18. Oh.
They're saying it probably won't stop at 20, which is probably true. They're just going to keep using it till it explodes. Think of the savings. Moving on to the space section, our planet was most likely attacked in the distant past. A terrible attack that definitely would have killed every living thing on the planet. And where was the perpetrator? We've been searching. Who is this rogue planet? It turns out they might have been inside the house all along.
Scientists say they've finally found remnants of Theia, an ancient planet that collided with Earth to form the moon.
Where is it? It's inside the Earth's crust. It's smashed in, and we've got these big blobs that we're never able to identify that are made out of iron. Turns out that's probably it.
I don't remember that in the hit movie The Core.
You have to rewrite it. It's time for a re-release, right?
Oh, probably.
And here's just some fun pictures.
Euclid
Wow.
telescope, first images revealed from a dark universe.
Don't look at that. That's a pop-up.
Come on,
not-
baby.
There we go.
Or its dark universe mission.
Looking good. Can you, I just can't fathom. You look at this picture. This is a tiny, tiny little slice. And like, we're one of these little dots, the equivalent of it. And we're just like, yeah, we're the only people around. There's
Seems unlikely.
nothing else out there in all of that.
Look at these photos and listen to Dark Matter by Bjork.
Maybe it's like field mice in a haystack. It's like, there's field mice in the haystack, but it's really hard to find all the field mice in the haystack.
If you cross your eyes, you can see the other image.
Be cool to get these on some prints for your walls. And the NASA's big thing now is asteroids. We're launching rockets at them. We're scooping up dirt off of them and bringing it back. And now we find an adorable little guy.
NASA spacecraft discovers a tiny moon around an asteroid during a close flyby.
They're so close together. Asteroid's like, bro, give me a little space.
You're embarrassing me in front of the other asteroids.
I'm trying to go to the bathroom. And here's the moving on to the nonsense section. I've moved collapse into nonsense. Here's a
Business was getting long.
very sad group of stories.
Citigroup considers deep job cuts for CEO, and the CEO has Jane Fraser. She's planning the overhaul, and she's calling it Project Bora Bora.
Project Bora Bora means we're firing 10%.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Looks like AI is going to replace a lot of customer service jobs.
And bad news if you're driving a Toyota SUV.
12-volt battery problem forces Toyota to recall 1.8 million SUVs. This is for all the things that run on 12 volts, not the other thing.
Owners should hear about a fix by late December, but that's a month away. I need to drive a car.
And this is during holiday season here in the U.S. as well, with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. Everyone's going to be traveling.
Don't drive your Toyota SUV home to see your family. It might explode.
Oh, it's another bingo square.
Oh, we should put this on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. And they do mention it explicitly in the text of the story.
Solar superstorm could wipe out the internet for weeks or months, scientist says. Instead of reading this, if you were considering reading this, go to Wikipedia and read about the Carrington event.
But what this gives you that won't is that we have been in a solar minimum for quite some time.
Not for like last year or so. We're going into a maximum.
No, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
like our lives have been in the summer, and winter is coming, being the solar maximum. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But if a solar magnetic storm hits us directly, it's going to roast all the internet.
Yeah.
At least.
A lot of electronics as well. It's called the CME. Interesting. They say that there have been things where they've been like, oh no, like the grid could recover from that. Like we've got contingency plans. It's like, I don't know if I believe that.
Well, but the one that fries the internet would not be as powerful as the one required to fry the grid.
There's a report you can look up about power transformers. Like there's a specific kind of power transformer. And if we lost more than like 20 of those nationwide, it's going to take us 6 to 18 months to ramp up the production of those to get replacements. So in that time, it's going to be very bad.
What percentage of the defense budget you think will be required to just make 20 of those and put them in a warehouse somewhere? How many zeros are we talking about here?
Probably not a lot.
I mean leading zeros, not trailing zeros. And this is the most depressing one of the week because I fear that as Americans, our lives are never going back to what they were before. Things are probably just going to get a lot worse.
U.S. government debt is on track to surpass $50 trillion by 2033. That means $5.2 billion is piling up every day. I'll give you an alternative version of this headline, which is U.S. government debt interest right now alone is $1 trillion a year.
I think it's more than that, right?
It is more than that, but not by a lot. It's not on the scale of $2 trillion a year. It's on the scale of $1 trillion a year.
But this line goes up.
Yeah.
This doesn't take into account rising interest rates.
Yeah.
So if interest rates continue to rise, which, I mean, come on. The only way you sell this debt is to raise that interest rate. Then this is going to be way worse. Way worse. Or we default on that debt, and who knows what that looks like. Government waste might have something to do with that. And we're not alone in being people that just throw money at situations and just really piss it away.
Ottawa paid nearly $670,000 for KPMG's advice on cutting consultant costs. I love consulting. If you're not part of the solution, there's good money to be made prolonging the problem.
And moving on to the crime section. Oh, come on. What is this?
What is this?
Because it's trying to play an ad up there. Yeah, this guy, here's a pro criminal tip. We haven't done that in a while. If you're going to commit a knife robbery, don't dress in a very specific manner. You should go for generic dress. And certainly don't include parrots.
Virginia, bird bandit. Suspect arrested after robbing victim at knife point while parrot sat on hair and shoulder. How did they track him down? He's the parrot guy.
It's hard to not remember that when it comes into your 8-hour gas station shift.
He's fallen on hard times. He's got to feed the parrots somehow.
I bet parrots are expensive to keep, right?
Yeah, kind of an exotic pet.
Well, this is not the first time that we have seen a headline that came from rentahitman.com.
Woman jailed after rentahitman.com assassin turned out to be, surprise, the FBI.
Pro criminal tip. Don't use rentahitman.com.
That's not even true, though. The FBI does not run rentahitman.com because who would be dumb enough? Why would they spend resources for that? It's a parody site that some other guy runs. But when he gets actual people looking for hitmen, he gives the information to the FBI. And this has happened like 3-4 times.
So you're saying he's a snitch, is what you're saying.
Well, he probably would he's probably, CYA to make sure that. So, yeah, she decided this was a woman who also had children from her baby daddy, and they did not get along. So, there was also a very small punishment. Do you remember she got like
$3,000?
No, it was prison time, but not very much.
I'm not sure.
For attempted murder?
Is it attempted murder, or is it like
that was not the charge.
premeditate?
No,
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even that. It's
considering murder.
It was like using online something or other for threats.
And they met at Waffle House.
Oh, of course they did.
And what was this in? I can't remember the name of the place.
I don't
Trinidad
know.
and Tobago.
Oh yeah, Trinidad and Tobago. Different kind of police work there.
6 cops held by PSB at Aruca Station. This is for improper police conduct. They may have been soliciting themselves. 6 of them. They're caught.
They busted a drug dealer, and they told him, "We're taking all these drugs unless you've got $50,000. Then you can keep all of your drugs." So he paid him, then he turned them in. I wonder if he got to keep the drugs.
No. Manage your cookies.
Manage the cookies. Now, this is a word that we've heard is bad. So, like, is this okay? Because they've actually put this in a court ruling.
The Somerset Gimp, quote unquote, has been banned from gimping for 5 years. This is in West County, it's near Somerset, I guess.
So this dude, when we say the gimp, we're talking about from Pulp Fiction, the leather bodysuit, which covers your head and everything. So he was putting this on and like rolling around on the ground like a worm. He
looks so smug in this photo for what he was doing.
He would find women and he would run up and just get weird with it while wearing the costume. And they've decided that is antisocial and he's banned from doing it and wearing the suit.
Well, for 5 years.
He'll probably grow out of it in that time, don't you think?
It's just a phase.
And in the coming years, another of our treasured memories will be destroyed and rendered into something unwatchable.
Nintendo is making a live-action Zelda movie while also shutting down anybody that streams mods of their games and just other Nintendo nonsense. You should not support Nintendo in any way.
Just make your own Zelda movie with AI.
Write your own fanfic.
If you ignore Nintendo and they go bankrupt, then we'll have to contend with whoever buys the intellectual property from their bankruptcy auction. And it's probably not worse than Nintendo.
Well, California's tax woes are set to get a little bit worse because one big player is moving out.
Jeff Bezos' new home, Billionaire Bunker Island outside Miami, has a rich history. Literally, this is an entire article about how Jeff Bezos is moving from Washington State to Florida to avoid taxes.
Did they give the address of the island so we can just go investigate? Well, definitely not do something to it.
It turns out it's an island that is owned by 29 insanely wealthy people.
You try to send a drone.
So you're saying there's more incentive to do something to the island?
You try to send a drone over that island, there's going to be SAM
lasers.
Yeah. And moving into the education / horrible AI stuff section, this is obvious that we no longer have any higher education trust. It's all garbage. It's all infiltrated. It's all controlled, and it's horrible because it's affecting our lives. The food we eat, the medicine we get.
How big is science's fake paper problem? Huge, according to this report in Nature. And so huge, it's hundreds of thousands of papers. It's just a paper mill. Like, what is going on? I guess people that couldn't get a job or were too scared of the real world went into academia, but to avoid detection, they made fake papers, and then now no one has any idea what's going on.
Or they wanted to get a drug approved, or
to continue their research, they had to produce so much paper. I mean, it's just bureaucracy.
An additive for food, brominated vegetable oil. It's just, you can't trust it.
A little unhinged from the stuff in my orange soda.
And here's a great example of that. We all remember this one, right? Remember the hype train?
This is not that one. This is a different one.
Wow.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, this is not that one.
So they have. I saw they didn't. The LK99 one is actually still out there.
Yeah.
Which, how does it take that long? How long ago was that?
Nature retracts controversial superconductivity paper by embattled physicist. This one is Ranga Diaz. Researchers worry that the controversy is damaging the field's reputation. Yeah, superconductivity is hard. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
But all of his other papers getting retracted too.
Yeah.
It's just all garbage.
Now, the LK99 paper was not like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world superconductor. It was just like, there's something weird happening with this. We should look at it. And it might be superconductivity.
Now,
So that one's not been retracted yet.
Wendell pointed out that this is a weird nonsense story, but this is not really
Wendell was
nonsense.
confused. We were getting ready to start filming, and Wendell was like, "Why was this in here?"
Yeah.
But where else are you going to put this? I guess you could put it in hardware.
He was
but-
confused because it's a happy story.
Yeah. This is good. This is a good thing. We're not saying this is nonsense, but it's just.
I want you to look at the picture of those, and then okay. So this is in the Guardian. Parkinson's patient was able to walk 6 kilometers without problems after a spinal implant. I was like, oh, this is a nonsense because he couldn't stop walking, and he walked into the sound there, right? That's how we
forced to walk like a shark to stay alive. Nah, it's good. It's good.
No, he just walked because he wanted to and because he could.
He was really screwed up. And what they're doing is they're timing little shocks to his spine to offset the Parkinson's, and it works.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a therapy that maybe one day he could get to the point where he doesn't need it, but for now it's implants because it helps with something.
Because this is the nonsense section, if you want to take that to a dark place, then I guess you could say in 15 years, they might just like put a vest on you and it takes over your spine and you start working at Amazon.
Oh,
Doing the package sorting. It sounds like South Korea's got the package sorting by robots figured out just about.
Yeah, but by then it'll be more expensive to pay for the electricity than it is to just, put
use the
vest
human
on.
body's
Right,
electricity.
There
Give
are
you
a
some
lot of
nutrient paste and a vest. And the Bored Ape people are still out there. We learned that they
Who
no
are
longer
they?
have any value. It's the people that bought them. So remember when they said,
Well, no, I know who they are, but I'm like, what? Who cares about them still?
well, when you bought them, they promised that they would unlock certain things in the future, right? It would be like a ticket to certain events, and it was, but maybe they're cutting some corners.
404 Media's headline is Couldn't See Anymore. Bored Ape Conference attendees wake up with searing eye pain and vision loss. Why? Because instead of black lights, they accidentally used antimicrobial UV lights, which are not meant to be used anywhere. Like you can't. It's even more insane than like the sun tanning bed.
I really like the sub headline at the top. Been to a lot of concerts, festivals, Burning Man, and never have I experienced effed eyes like this. Quote.
So these people woke up in the middle of the night with like intense sunburns, and in some cases, zero vision.
Wow.
I think they will recover from it, but maybe not totally. Might affect your
That's
vision
why,
further.
people always say, Krista, why do you wear sunscreen all the time? That's why.
Well,
you
that
pour it in
wouldn't
your
have
eyes?
that wouldn't have helped you.
It wouldn't have helped with the eyes, but it would have helped with your skin. You wouldn't have gotten sunburn.
Yeah, all that artificial UV light. Though at least there's no microbes. No one's gonna get any kind of infection from anything. I guess.
Now, this one is both heartening and terrifying in my view, because on one hand, rejecting the Department of Education is something that we have to do as a society. But I don't think that most parents are qualified for this.
Homeschooling's rise from fringe to fastest growing form of education.
It's weird because, like, I know some people who are great at it, and some people it's like they're not doing crap with their kids.
Yeah.
It's very much like
But-
either or.
But if you look at a
ball,
Baltimore public school, could it be any worse? I mean, just sitting around watching cartoons all day, probably better than that. Another local interest story.
can you guess who added this one? It was me.
And that's an interesting little thing. I was more hyped about it till I read it, because it doesn't have the chomping action.
Yeah,
you
it's
need
not-
the chomping action.
Office of Kentucky Nature Preserves announces new carnivorous plant discovery, and there he is.
I was initially thinking it's like this is a new species. It's not a new species. It's new to the area. It actually
He's
exists.
spreading.
It's in the Ohio River Valley, but also here now.
I want to zoom in. So apparently, this little guy is very sticky, and when a plant comes down to enjoy some of its nectar, it keeps them.
Or an insect, you mean? Comes down
Oh,
to it.
what did I say?
You said plant.
Okay. Well, if a plant were to do it,
It would also. Eat that.
Probably wouldn't get any kind of nutrients for that.
It is a known species. It's just not known to be native to that area.
Now, Krista, this seems to be a female thing in my experience. Do you dislike the word moist?
I dislike the word moist. I dislike the word chafing.
Well, I've not heard chafing before.
Chafing. There was a friend of mine in college had a sentence with every terrible word in it, and I cannot remember what it is now. But moist and chafing were both in it.
Can you tell us why?
They sound gross. I don't know. I don't mind it like in the context of like moist cake, but like any other context, moist sounds gross.
What about a moist frog? To keep it alive.
No,
Moist nose on a kitten.
that ain't right.
Wow.
Kraft wants you to think of mayonnaise when you think moist.
This is the worst ad camp. Like the marketing team here should not only be fired, they should be tarred and feathered.
Kraft lobbies dictionary company on behalf of its moist mayonnaise.
We tried to tell them this was the dumbest thing ever, but literally it's getting headlines because it's the dumbest thing ever.
So they put this inflatable mayonnaise out in front of the dictionary company or Merriam-Webster because they want moist to be word of the year. So they're also running a social media campaign to try to get you to search for the word moist because that's one of the ways that Merriam-Webster decides what is the word of the year.
If I was Merriam-Webster, I would think of that as cheating, and I would disqualify Kraft forever.
I bet Llama ends up being the world.
Well, you say disqualified, but it's not really like they're not in
No,
competition.
disqualified. In fact, I'm dispatching my Merriam-Webster assassins to go kill the people at Kraft.
Well, Purdue, which is not Purdue Pharmaceutical, there's another company, and they make chicken or, meats.
They process chicken.
And they have been maybe criticized in the past for not feeding their chickens correctly. And again, I think the marketing team has made a terrible decision here. But they're trying to prove to you that their chicken feed is just fine.
Purdue made chicken feed for humans to eat.
No thanks.
So you can try it. I would try it.
Are there any mealworms in it?
Antibiotics.
Chickens they'll just eat whatever.
I mean, if
Just
there
feed
were
them trash.
a couple crickets in there, I wouldn't complain.
It does give the makeup of it. I don't remember what it was. But you can see it's like corn and seeds and stuff like that. It doesn't look very delicious.
Like trail mix.
Yeah.
Do you
Probably pretty
believe?
bland.
Do you believe that the same stuff going into the human one is actually going into the chicken troughs?
They
They-
say it is.
They legally probably can't do that, though, right? I guess they have to make cat and dog food fit for human consumption because humans will eat it.
But that's not true for chicken food, right?
I wouldn't think, but
It looks like the little packets you get with ramen.
yeah, that's really good. Maybe that's all it is. Just dehydrated vegetables.
Like the humans are eating the noodles and they're just taking those little packets and feeding the chickens.
There you
They
go.
have to eat a lot of ramen. And over in Hong Kong, they are riding the weird food to get headlines, and Pizza Hut is selling us this.
The CNN travel headline is Pizza Hut is selling snake pizza in Hong Kong. But there's a picture of it here. But yes, those are Oreos around the outside.
Yeah, that's really the weird, concerning part to me.
I don't understand how that goes with snake. But apparently there's a snake stew that has some of those similar ingredients to this.
Maybe I'm showing my white trash right now, but I feel like I would not have a problem eating snake.
Also eel. Yeah, I think I would be more like Oreo is more objectionable than snake.
Nutritionally, that would definitely.
Yeah,
The problem with snake, though, is that there's just so little meat.
yeah, it's a lot. You have to find a fat snake or get many snakes.
Do you think they're farming snakes? Because they're going to have
Probably.
to have a lot of meat in that thing.
They're pretty easy to farm. I mean, I guess probably.
Have you raised snakes?
No,
I mean,
but
they're all over the place in Eastern Kentucky.
remember the thing where it was bring in some cobras and we'll give you money, and cobras farm just
Didn't
fine.
you find one in the siding of your parents' house? I mean, they're just all
Yeah,
over.
but one. I mean, they're going to have like 3 or 4 just to make a pizza, right?
If you had other toppings to fill it out,
If you have farmed snakes, please engage in the comments and tell
we
us.
need more info.
And here, this is just practical. I salute these people because people pay ridiculous amounts for their weddings and it's stupid.
Tennessee bride surprises groom with a Waffle House reception.
My friend just got engaged, and we all sent her the Waffle House catering menu because we're trying to convince her to do that for her wedding.
So this dude right here was a soldier, and he apparently had a great love for Waffle House. And when he would come home, the first thing that they would do as a family would be go to Waffle House because he couldn't get it overseas and he loved it. And so she decided, because of this, it needed to be part of their special day.
We looked at it briefly when we got married.
The photographer did a really amazing job making the Waffle House look swanky.
It's almost like they painted over all the yellow and brown and like just did everything in white so it feels a little classier.
That'd be funny if they spent, like, they saved money by going to Waffle House, then they spent another $10,000
Decorating Waffle House.
And our friends, the rats, we study them to try to figure out what their little rat minds are doing, and it may be more than we ever thought.
Rats have an imagination, new research finds.
Don't they just want to take over the world? Nyah, nyah, nyah.
So it's interesting. I thought there was a picture of him running on the little, like,
Just really crudely drawn fan art.
he's got a little globe treadmill, and then they try to, like, mess with his brain and to make him remember where he was before and go there again. And they figured out that when he's doing that, he's actually picturing in his mind. And he is, in his mind, he's going to that place and, like, working out his path
Are
beforehand.
you saying he has an inner monologue?
Well, I don't think he has language.
Yeah.
He has inner vision.
He can visualize things, which apparently some people can't.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So he's ahead of some people. And here's one of the big problems with DoorDash.
A bear stole a Taco Bell delivery order from a Florida family's porch, and then he came again for the soda.
There's a video that you should definitely watch. But yeah, you see the girl dropping off the stuff, and then you see the bear, and he's like, "Oh, what is this?"
It's a picnic basket.
And you imagine that he probably came back for the soda because of all that sodium. He's
Yeah,
not
he needed
used
something to
that
wash
at
it
all.
down. Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is a lot different.
I'm
than
far
salmon.
away from the creek, and I think I'll just drink this soda too.
I wonder if it was Baja Blast.
Oh, we can only hope.
He can never have it again. Crocodiles, on the other hand, are not as furry and lovable, but they are equally dangerous.
Australian farmer Colin Deveraux survives crocodile attack by biting back.
That's some Steve Irwin energy. The ghost of Steve Irwin overtook my body.
Steve would never bite a crocodile. He
That's
would
true.
let himself die before he would ever hurt one. This guy was mending fences, and he went down to the little river, which is what they call a billabong over there.
Oh,
I
that's
remember
it.
that
Unhinged.
was a brand for a while.
Yeah, it was a clothing store.
Didn't realize that was just lake. Just the word lake. Yeah,
It's the Australian hillbilly for lake.
I guess so. And it got him, snatched his leg, and he accidentally bit it in the eye. But then when he realized that biting in the eye was working, he doubled down.
Ugh.
Wonder how long it took to get that taste out of his mouth. Also, he was way out in the bush, 80 miles trip to the hospital. And this just keeps happening. Are we going to have to, in fact, like Nelson from The Simpsons encouraged, nuke the whales?
A pod of orcas has sunk a yacht in the Strait of Gibraltar.
This was a huge story. I saw this everywhere this
Because
week.
it keeps happening.
What if Conan O'Brien and the other Simpsons writers were time travelers from the future come back to live in a simpler time?
Like, this was breaking news on every news site. There's like, another orca attacked. They hit another yacht.
I mean, they warned us about the political things. They warned us about world events, and now they warned us about the orcas. Of course, also Star Trek has warned us about the orcas, because if we don't live and let live, they're going to get a space probe in a couple of 100 years, and it's going to mess up the planet bad.
Well, I mean, they say that whales are the most advanced, especially the orcas, in terms of like intelligence and emotion and stuff like that. So I could see how they would be the first animal to get fed up with us. It's like, seriously, guys.
Knock it off.
It's not cool what you're doing, and we're going to fight back as best we can. And finally, another reptile story. And I'm sorry, as lovely and adorable as this is, I do not agree with the emotional support alligator. That is a problem that is going to have consequences.
Emotional support alligator denied entrance to Phillies-Pirates matchup meets Gritty at Flyers game.
Gritty is the terrifying orange mascot. I love the memes about Gritty. I don't care about sports, but I love Gritty memes. That's the thing. Like, other mascots would probably not be down, but Gritty's the kind of level of just insane that he's like, yeah, okay.
And they show this.
Oh.
So there's a rule in Florida that alligators can't be rehomed for some reason. So it forced this man to adopt this one. There was some series of events, but now he says it's changed his life.
Oh, I like how smiley they look.
And it is officially a registered emotional support animal in Florida.
Are there more pictures of Gritty up top? It looks like there are a couple more.
Yeah, there's.
Oh, it's just memes. Yeah.
We'll look at them. I mean, they're worth looking at.
Oh, it's his kid.
Wow.
They put the hair on it. They photoshopped the hair.
I can't imagine that the alligator enjoyed that photo shoot.
No, not even a little.
And, we've been blaming the chemicals in the water and all the forever stuff and the horribleness for turning our frogs gay. But perhaps it wasn't that after all. Perhaps it was just frigid females and they don't have any other choice.
Research has found that female frogs play dead to avoid mating with males.
Skill issue.
So they describe how they lay on their side and extend their legs completely and just go rigid.
Oh,
And that's to let the males know that,
not tonight.
I have a headache.
Ugh.
I bet those frogs are moist.
No, apparently not. Anyway, that's it for this week. If you guys want a KVM, please buy one from us.
It's stored on
Level1text.com.
Maybe pick up a t-shirt while you're there.
Oh, mouse pad, yeah.
Mouse pad.
Fun times.